Welcome back student for session number 10. So in this session we'll discuss the subsystem of an MIS. In the previous session we come across the concept of the disciplines which we have discussed in the form of computer science. And also we have seen how the computer science is involved in the MIS. Now in this session the student can understand what are the subsystems of an MIS. Now, first let us understand what is a subsystem. A subsystem is an independent and individual part of a system is called a subsystem. No doubt, again, the MIS is a broad concept where these subsystems can be merely classified into or defined into two different categories. The first here a system where the subsystems are combined together in order to form a complete system. Hence, we say that a subsystem is an individual and the independent part of a system which have its own individual functionality. The two approaches which can be defined the subsystem of MIS, that means the subsystems of MIS can be mainly classified into two different categories. Number one, based on the organization functions. Number two, based on managerial activities. Now, this diagram shows you how the organization function subsystem are characterized or differentiated. Now, let us see the diagram where we come across the different types of function subsystems such as marketing, production, logistic, personal, finance, accounting, and the top management. So, in these organizational functions, we say that a MIS can be viewed as a federation of information systems where each and every subsystem for one organization function. There may be a common support system which are used by one subsystem, but each functional system have its own unique procedures and the programs and the modules. In the diagram, you can see there is a common database which is shared between all the subsystems. Now, let us understand what we mean by these functional subsystems. These are the concepts where we need to understand what are the uses of this functional subsystem. The typical a major a business organization can be engaged in the following subsystems which are based on the functions. Okay, now see here the number one we come across the marketing functional subsystem. So in this session the marketing here we need to understand what are the typical uses and the functional subsystems why they are used in the organization. The number one we come across the marketing where which is the typical use of this marketing is for sales forecasting, sales, sales planning and the customer and the sales management. Number two which is called as production which is also called as manufacturing which is used for production planning and scheduling cost control. Next one we have logistic which planning and control of inventories and the distribution. Personal functional subsystem used for personal requirement performance analysis and administration. The financial accounting analysis capital requirement planning. Top management which is used for strategic planning and the resource allocation. The database is a primary means of integration among the various subsystems and a data item stored or updated by one subsystem is then available to another subsystem. For instance, the sales and inventory information, for example, The sales and inventory information used by the marketing subsystem is applied through the logical subsystem, and one data is used by the another subsystem. The concept here is called as the organization function subsystems.